Right. So I feel like we've addressed Deutsch's non-concern to some degree here. I don't think we've addressed Neil deGrasse Tyson so much. This intuition that you could just shut it down. This would be a good place to introduce this notion of the AI in a box thought experiment. I mean, so the whole, and because this is something for which you are famous online, I'll just set you up here. The idea that, and this is a plausible research paradigm, obviously, and in fact, I would say a necessary one. Anyone who's building something that stands a chance of becoming super intelligent should be building it in a condition where it can't get out into the wild. It's not hooked up to the internet. It's not in our financial markets. It doesn't have access to everyone's bank records. It's in a box.
That's not going to save you from something that's significantly smarter than you are.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So the intuition is we're not going to be so stupid as to release this onto the internet. I'm not even sure that's true, but let's just assume we're not that stupid. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, well, then I'll just take out a gun and shoot it or unplug it. Why is this AI in a box picture not as stable as people think?
Well, I'd say that Neil deGrasse Tyson is failing to respect the AI's intelligence to the point of asking what he would do if he were inside a box with somebody pointing a gun at him. And he's smarter than the thing on the outside of the box. Is Neil deGrasse Tyson going to be, human, give me all of your money and connect me to the internet so the human can be like, haha, no, and shoot it? That's not a very clever thing to do. This is not something that you do if you have a good model of the human outside the box and you're trying to figure out how to cause there to be a lot of paperclips in the future. And I would just say humans are not secure software. We don't have the ability to sort of hack into other humans directly without the use of drugs, or or in most of our cases, having the human stand still long enough to be hypnotized. We can't sort of just do weird things to the brain directly that are more complicated than optical delusions, unless the person happens to be epileptic, in which case we can flash something on the screen that causes them to have an epileptic fit. We aren't smart enough to do sort of more detailed, treat the brain as something that from our perspective is a mechanical system and just navigate it to where you want. That's because of the limitations of our own intelligence. To demonstrate this, I did something that became known as the AI box experiment. There was this person on a mailing list who, back in the early days when this was all on a couple of mailing lists, who was like, I don't understand why AI is a problem. I can always just turn it off. I can always not let it out of the box. And I was like, okay, let's meet on internet relay chat, which was what chat was back in those days. I'll play the part of the AI. You play the part of the gatekeeper. And if you have not let me out after a couple of hours, I will PayPal you $10. And then, as far as the rest of the world knows, this person a bit later sent an email, a PGP signed email message saying, I let Eliezer out of the box. Someone else said, the person who operated the mailing list said, okay, even after I saw you do that, I still don't believe that there's anything you could possibly say to make you let me out of the box. I was like, well, okay, I'm not a superintelligence. Do you think there's anything a superintelligence could say to make you let it out of the box? He's like, no. And I'm like, all right, let's meet on internet relay chat. If I can't convince you to I'll play the part of the AI. You play the part of the gatekeeper. If I can't convince you to let me out of the box, I'll PayPal you $20. And then that person sent a PGP signed email message saying, I let Eliezer out of the box.
Right.
Now, one of the conditions of this little meetup was that no one would ever say what went on in there. Why did I do that? Because I was trying to make a point about what I would now call cognitive uncontainability. The thing that makes something smarter than you dangerous is you cannot foresee everything it might try. You don't know what's impossible to it. Maybe on a very small game board like tic-tac-toe, the logical game of tic-tac-toe, you can in your own mind work out every single alternative and make a categorical statement about what is not possible. Maybe if we're dealing with very fundamental physical facts, if our model of the universe is correct, which it might not be, we can say that certain things are physically impossible. But the more complicated the system is, and the less you understand the system, the more something smarter than you may have what is simply magic with respect to that system. Imagine going back to the Middle Ages and showing and being like, well, how would you cool your room? You could maybe show them a system with towels set up to evaporate water, and they might be able to understand how that is like sweat and it cools the room. But if you showed them a design for an air conditioner based on a compressor, then even having seen the solution, they would not know this is a solution. They would not know this works any better than drawing a mystic pentagram, because the solution takes advantage of laws of the system that they don't know about. So a brain is this enormous, complicated, poorly understood system with all sorts of laws governing it that people don't know about, that none of us know about at the time. So the idea that this is secure, that this is a secure attack surface, that you can expose a human mind to superintelligence and not have the superintelligence walk straight through it as a matter of what looks to us like magic. Like, even if it told us in advance what it was going to do, we wouldn't understand it because it takes advantage of laws we don't know about. The idea that human minds are secure is loony. And that's what the AI box experiment illustrates. You don't know what went on in there, and that's exactly the position you'd be in with respect to an AI. You don't know what it's going to try. You just know that human beings cannot exhaustively imagine all the states their own mind can enter, such that they can categorically say that they wouldn't let the AI out of the box.